Um, Let me first start by introducing myself, giving a brief introduction. My name is Tresia. I'm a microbiologist by profession, and I am currently working as an associate consultant at the Alago Food Assurance Consultants, working amongst 3 other amazing women. So what do we do at Ialago? We provide our clients in the food industry and those who want to join the food industry or want to start their own food businesses with food safety and quality assurance consultations, which include training, auditing, and other consultation services. And we do this with the aim of ensuring production of safe food for all consumers. Please go to the next slide. So here is my shortest experience as a young female microbiologist who just came out of university. That was 2020. I had no prior experience when I joined the fishing industry in 2021, where I worked as a quality assurance and production supervisor in a fishing vessel. So I was going to sea for a month and about 2 weeks. And unfortunately, it had to stop fishing and it returned to its country. So I was left unemployed for a few months. And early this year, I got an opportunity to continue building my career at IFEC, where now I work as an associate consultant and I offer training to all food handlers, be it the ones working in the factories, be it the ones working in food restaurants, whoever handles food. And I also sample for our clients all different type of sampling, which is product sampling, swabs, and water sampling as well. And I also assist with other consultation services in our company. So here's a backstory, a very funny backstory of how I decided to come up with this masterclass. So while working at sea last year, I was responsible for sampling as well. But then while sampling, we were catching a very rare or rather overexploited fish, which was sole. So it was quite difficult or challenging for me to convince the officials that I need to take some samples that I have to come with on shore to get tested. And that has been going on about a few months. But then it was a requirement from our customers that products should be tested. So it was quite challenging for me to convince them. So at the end of the months, I then realized that these people don't really understand why I needed to sample. And then I set up a meeting with the officials and I explained why I had to sample or the importance of sampling. Sometimes we don't really know that certain people don't understand why certain things are done in the company. So that's why I decided to host this masterclass to give the 4 tips that worked for me and might work as well for every other person that struggles to convince the officials, or rather the ones that want to start their own business, food businesses. Okay, let's go to the slide 3. Slide 3. Okay, let's start by defining what food product testing is in general. Food product testing is a scientific analysis of food and its contents. So this is done to provide information about various characteristics of food. For example, the structural, composition, or physicochemical properties of food. That's food product testing. Slide 4. Now let's focus on microbial analysis of food, which is why we are hosting this masterclass. So what is microbial analysis of food? is a food safety management process that involves series of tests that are done to define the microbial criteria of food. So these tests are specifically for living organisms or pathogens that could be harmful to the consumers, to your consumers. So these tests do not only look for pathogens known to make consumers ill, but also look for pathogens that affect the overall quality of food being sent out to grocery stores and other businesses. So food testing also validates the use of food safety programs in your organization. For example, if your organization really does comply with the HACCP system. Okay. So we have our first poll on the next slide, which I want you guys to take a chance to answer. And our question is, what is the most common source of pathogenic microorganisms? So what do you think is the most common source of pathogenic microorganisms? I'll be waiting for a response. Let's take time to answer the poll. What is the most common source of pathogenic microorganisms? Is it food handlers? Is it shellfish, raw meat, poultry, and eggs? Is it waste food or dead? Is it pests or all of the above? Okay. Our poll is in. So far, I think, okay. All right. So our poll is in, and the answer is all of the above, which is correct. Pathogenic microorganisms can come from food handlers, people that handle food. It can also be on the shellfish, raw meat, poultry, and eggs. It can come from the dirt that is in that particular place, also pests. So we are all correct. Those are the sources of pathogenic microorganisms. Okay, let's define what pathogenic microorganisms are. Pathogenic microorganisms are any microorganisms that are capable of injuring its host. Example, they can be competing with it for metabolic resources while destroying its cells and tissues and also secreting toxins. So those injurious microorganisms include viruses, bacteria, mycobacteria, fungi, protozoa, and also some helminths. Next slide. So I have decided to look at the 4 most important reasons, or rather the reasons that worked for me, that I had to include in my meeting when I had to convince the officials of why microbial testing is important. So here are the reasons that I stated. Microbial organism is a market access requirement, firstly. It also prevents foodborne illnesses, also prevents recalls and also food withdrawals. And it can also work for organizational or company backup. I will be going into details one by one in the next slides. But before I do that, let's run our second poll in the next slide. Our question is, how often do your products get tested for microbial contamination? How often does your organization test for microbial contamination in food? Okay, so everybody replied every day. Okay, that's really amazing. It means that there is a low probability that you could produce products that are contaminated, or you could take out products that are contaminated, or like for your customers to consume. Okay. Um, Microbial, like every company has their own frequency of microbial testing, depending on either how you decided to set it up, or how frequently you decide to test your products. Another reason is maybe your customer requirement. How often do your customers require you to test your products? Those are two reasons, and there are more other reasons, like how a company comes up with the frequency of how they test their products. So let's look at our first reason why microbial testing is important. So the first reason is requirement and market access. As per the latest local, regional, and national food safety regulations and also standards, every food product that must be tested and should be approved before it's put up for sale in the market. The safety of food is vital to each and everybody of us. And before releasing food into the market, make sure that from that batch, samples are collected, and those samples are tested and confirmed that they are safe for consumption. This is to avoid releasing tainted food or beverages to consumers. There are so many cases that happen. We could look at the one that happened in SA between 2017 and 2018, where there was a contamination of listeria, which was only found after 9 children who were both 5 years old were taken to the hospital, and they were having similar symptoms. Now, they both attended the same daycare. So these investigators obviously didn't find it difficult to trace where the contamination came from. So they took samples from the food products that are consumed in that daycare, which were the Rainbow and Enterprise chicken products. And they found the strain of listeria. And it wasn't difficult for them to trace the initial source of contamination, which was obviously their production facility. So this clearly shows that care wasn't taken, and there was no adequacy in the systems in that particular production system. So what do you do to prevent such things from happening? You need to take samples from start, and by start I need from all the raw materials that you are using in your production, and also from the intermediate process, which is the middle process during your production. And then lastly, you must take from your end products to confirm if they are safe or they are not contaminated. In addition to that, you also need to take swabs. You also need to take swabs to see if the facility is safe for production, to avoid such cases from happening. Let's go to our second reason why food microbial testing is important. So the second reason is to prevent foodborne illnesses. Let's start first by defining what foodborne illnesses are. According to the definition that I've taken from the US Food and Drug Administration article, Foodborne illnesses result from consuming contaminated food with pathogenic microorganisms or toxic compounds released by the microorganisms. So these disease-causing microorganisms are most often bacteria, but they can also include fungi, viruses, and protozoa, like I said earlier. So protozoa are single-celled animals, which include amoeba, flagellates, ciliates, sporozoans, and many more. And this can only be seen under a microscope. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. Before I go into detail of the different types of diseases that are caused by contaminated food, let's quickly look at the statistics of foodborne illnesses in the world. So according to the World Health Organization, each year, unsafe food causes an estimate of 600 million cases. And out of those cases, 420 cases happen to be death cases. And within those 420,000 cases, 30% of those death cases are children under 5 years of age. So how do we make a difference in that statistics? You need to make sure that you ensure that the food being produced in your organization or in your facility is safe for all consumers by regularly or frequently testing it for contamination. Make sure that it's safe for both the young, the old, expecting mothers, and those with compromised immune systems. Okay, so before we move on to our third reason, let's take a look at the most common diseases caused by unsafe food. So there's a direct relationship between microorganisms and diseases, as these harmful organisms are responsible for taking so many lives. These microorganisms cause diseases such as campylobacteriosis, which is caused by a bacterium known as Campylobacter. So this infection, or rather this disease, can be attained, or it can affect people if they eat raw or undercooked poultry, or eating other food that got it through cross-contamination. Okay, they can also get it from eating other foods, including seafood, meat, produce, and other produce by contact with animals, and also by drinking untreated water. The second disease can be typhoid fever, which is caused by a bacterium known as Salmonella typhi. And this bacteria spreads through contaminated food, water, and beverages. And how does a person get typhoid fever? Is by ingesting contaminated food or beverages prepared by a food handler who is shedding bacterium through feces and does not wash their hands. Obviously, if a food handler comes from the toilet and they come directly to the food production place, and they start touching food, they can cross-contaminate the products with that bacteria. Thirdly, there is a disease known as amoebiasis. And this disease causes inflammation of the intestines, means it's dangerous. It can kill someone, and it's caused by a parasite known as Entamoeba histolytica. And this parasite enters the human body through the consumption of contaminated food and beverages as well. And there is another disease known as botulism, which is caused by Clostridium botulinum. And this is a very harmful bacteria as well that thrives and it thrives and also make toxin in environments with little oxygen. Like it can be found in canned food, or it can be found in canned food. Other sicknesses can also be caused by bacteria such as Staphylococcus, Streptococcus, E. coli, Clostridium, Salmonella and Listeria, as shown in the picture displayed on that slide. So let's run our third poll, and this is our last poll, which is an introduction to our third reason. So the question is, our question is, most food recall cases are due to microbial contaminations and undeclared allergens. Is this true or false? Let's please answer this question. There's one more. One more person, please answer. Let's know what you think. Yes, okay. So our poll is in and we have all answered true. Okay. Next slide. So, like I said, our poll was an introduction to our third reason. The third reason why you should consider routine or frequently testing is to avoid or to prevent recalls and withdrawals due to microbial contamination. According to the US Food and Drug Administration as well, one of the common causes of food recalls is the contamination of food with disease-causing microorganisms, mostly bacteria and others, viruses, parasites, and many other. While I'm on this topic, we all know that food testing can be costly, especially if your organization doesn't have a testing lab. Like in the organization, they require another lab to test. It can be costly. But do you ever imagine and take a chance to imagine how much your company will spend on a recall? Let me give an example. Maybe your organization makes about 10 million a year from the sales, obviously, that goes out of your company. So 1 year, consumers buy your products because you're not used to you believe that the products are safe and you don't want to spend on those tests. So 1 year you believe that your products are safe, and then people buy your products from different markets and they start getting sick. And they are found to have botulism. Like I stated earlier, different types of diseases that can occur due to microbial contamination. So now think of how many markets you supply your products to worldwide, and think of how much you're going to spend on recalls. Not only recalls, your organization will also be sued. You also need to rebrand, obviously. So it's going to cost much more compared to the profit that you make. So what I'm trying to say is that put aside finances to test your products to ensure that they are safe for consumption. Okay. Our last point is company backup. So another reason why you should consider frequently testing your products for microbial contamination is to back up your company. What do I mean by that? Testing the quality and safety of your products is done to verify claims made by consumers and competitors. I mean, what evidence will you have to protect your brand from rumors and smears? You have probably seen so many products in the market being labeled unhealthy by competitors and other rumor mongers. You have competitors everywhere. You have competition. So there's a competition in the industry, and you need to look out for that. So by having records of your products, you can back up your company. At least if any rumors come out that your products are unsafe, you have evidence to display that your products are tested frequently. Okay. So that's why you need to test your products frequently. Yes. Okay. I've emphasized so much on on microbial testing, but then that's not the only test that you need to conduct on your products to ensure that they are safe for consumption. There are other tests that you need to carry out on your products to make sure that they are safe for consumption, like analytical chemistry testing. And this test involves this test chemically separates and analyzes food for different components. They analyze different components of food, which includes the pH of the food, the additives, the preservatives, the colors, contaminants, and so on that are added to your products. Another test that you can do is sensory testing. This is actually the most basic method of testing your food. This only involves using your human senses, which is sight, taste, touch, sound, and smell. You can analyze your product by doing a sensory test. And then you can also analyze your quality, your product's quality by doing a nutritional analysis. A nutritional analysis involves finding out if the nutritional composition of food, and this information that is gathered is then put on or is rather what is used on the product's label. So those are the additional tests that you need to do to make sure that your products are safe for consumption before you release them out to consumers. So we have come to the end of our masterclass, but before then, let's sum up our discussion with 3 very important takeaways. Our first takeaway from this masterclass is that microbial analysis is a requirement for food safety management process. Food testing is required for market access. It's also required to prevent foodborne diseases. It's required to prevent food recalls and also for organizational backup. Other important food tests that you can do on your products to ensure that your products are safe for consumption are chemical tests, nutritional analysis, and sensory tests. Those are additional tests that you need to do on your products. So we have come to the end of our masterclass. To the end of our masterclass. But let me again remind you that IFAC team is your to-go-to for all your food safety inquiries. We are here to play our part in ensuring that every food product is safe for consumption. You can check out our website for all our trainings, for all the trainings that we